keeping in mind that if we lose Indochina, Mr. Jenkins, we will lose the Pacific, and we'll be an island in a communist sea.
In the 1950s, when looking for communists became a useful political tool, politicians began to focus specifically on people in these areas, among brain workers, as it were, intellectuals, academics, teachers, writers.
One of the things that the president faces so often, and this was true in this area, was the defense of the right and privilege of faculty to pursue their fields of learning without let or hindrance. And that, however, immediately leads you into the suspicion on the part of many that universities are the harboring grounds for the elements that seem to be the subversive elements.
Well, I think as a developing human being, I was most impressed in my teenage years by the Depression in Colorado. It caused me to feel completely alienated from the economic system that we lived under then, alienated even until today.
I grew up on a farm out in Oregon. In the very early 30s, I finished high school, and because the farm would only barely support a family of 6, I went on the road. Picked up a local freight car and traveled wherever there was work. Now that wasn't uninteresting because one of the people I traveled quite a bit with was Woody Guthrie.
My self-image as a rebel as a child was based on affiliation to a movement. See, I'm talking about the 30s when it seemed to be a lot clearer than it later was what the movement consisted of.
Ken was a red diaper baby.
What do you mean by that?
He sucked in Marxism with his mother's milk.
University of Michigan knew very early on that it was going to be investigated.
There were quite a number, I don't say how many, half dozen or more, of our people who I had been told by the FBI were going to be called, or likely to be called, before Kit Clardy's committee because they were communists.
I asked Marvin Nias to go down to Washington, which he did, and as a result of our efforts, we were able to clear it completely and remove from any public display all but 3 of our members of our faculty.
I told President Thatcher that I disagreed with the position of the Association of American Universities, that the refusal to answer the question on Communist Party membership created a presumption which the faculty member must dispel.
I was very startled at Michigan one day to have the FBI come to my office and ask me to identify several people that they showed me pictures of. And I said, well, I don't recognize any of those, but even if I did, I wouldn't identify them for you. I'm not willing to cooperate with you on anything. You guys are really the enemy, I said.
I was expected to name other people's names, and I didn't. It's something I couldn't have done.
You have 2 choices. Either you can become a friendly witness or an unfriendly witness.
And what should be our stance? Should we refuse to testify before the committee on the grounds of the First Amendment or grounds of the Fifth Amendment, or just stand silent and say nothing?
If you did make the Fifth Amendment plea, you didn't get a contempt citation. If you failed to, you did.
Now, I'll make it a very simple question. Are you now, today, a member of the Communist Party?
Well, without wishing to imply any lack of respect for the First Amendment, which is really the cornerstone of our Bill of Rights, I should like to decline also on the grounds that the question conflicts with the guarantee provided by the Fifth Amendment to the effect that a person shall not be required to bear witness against himself.
The government is mine, represents me, has no right to ask me anything about my political opinions or activities. So I refused categorically to answer any of their substantive questions, pleading the Fifth Amendment.
If you take such an amendment, you say to the public that there is some reason why you must do this. And the only possible action that was available to us under that circumstance, which was to suspend without prejudice and with continued salary, while this was cleared up at least within the family.
Immediately there were hearings on the part of faculty committees.
They asked a variety of questions, and all the variety of questions were leading in one direction. That is, say just how far left you are, and left to them meant just how close to the Communist Party you are. That was the crime.
As a member of the university, was also a citizen of the United States, and the Constitution gives the citizens of the state certain rights.
The most complete victory would be to save all of our jobs, and saving the job of any of us would be a quite significant victory in itself.
After the hearing, I had no illusions that whatever I did, I'd get fired.
I had no reservations whatever about trying to persuade my colleagues that I was a worthy member of that community. In fact, I thought I was exactly the kind of person that ought to be a professor.
And I have to start out by saying, I believe that these charges are this and that and the other thing. And I'll answer those if they're not wrong. If I'm wrong about what the charges really are, let me know.
I explained in public statements that I regarded questions before them as to my relation to the Communist Party and other left-wing organizations as being a mere continuation of the exposure campaign of the House Committee on American Activities.
All of these people who refused to cooperate with your university investigations were fired.
I'll be candid with my colleague, and let's see if my colleagues, all the Senate, its Constitution, rules, and regulations, has any influence on how the university is run.
Nickerson's and my position were virtually indistinguishable, politically and in every respect.
The actual charges against me were never stated. The university never stated it. None of the committees were stated.
With Nickerson, he had tenure. They either had to fire him or keep him. And in the medical school particularly, they didn't like Nickerson as a person. They felt this was their only chance to fire him, and so they strongly came down on the side of dismissing him. And the university, to its shame, went along with that. And that he should be fired and that I should not is a gross miscarriage of justice.
Marker, I think, may well have been the only untenured faculty member at a public university who took the Fifth Amendment before a congressional investigating committee and kept his job. I mean, his case was rare.
I pled the Fifth Amendment. If I can do that successfully as a non-tenured faculty person and in effect force the society or the university to accept that as proper behavior, that will have been a great political victory. I
wrote more letters in the course of job hunting than anybody else did at that time. This is 1954-55.
What a contrast this would make between a person you were dealing with in the case of Mr. Brockwood and these other, the other two who were defiant and not forthcoming and not honest and forthright.
I never got an offer again.
There's no question that it was because of politics that I had to move to get a job.
We close the issue and move on. And you can't go back and undo it.
I was in prison because I had decided that something was important enough.
My son, he was hassled by schoolmates a bit. You know, your father's a communist and a subversive. If he isn't, why did he have to go to Lansing? He spontaneously came up with the answer that my father went to Lansing because there were some people there that needed to be taught about the Constitution. Touche.
I don't know if I can claim to have contributed very much to academic freedom, but I certainly feel that I tried.